Oh, are we starting with our visuals
Here we
now?
go. Hey, Internet. Welcome to Mashable's Hangout, where we're spitting the truth about the beasts known as Comic-Con San Diego. The movies, the TV shows, the panels, the bags, the swag, and of course the cosplay. I'm here with the Hulk in New York City, but I'm also joined by three of my colleagues on the West Coast. First up, we have in the middle, Josh Dickey. He's our fearless entertainment editor in Los Angeles. We also have Sandra Gonzalez, our senior TV writer, who's actually wearing Wonder Woman swag right now.
Yeah. Woo.
Wow.
Nice.
And we have Chris Taylor, our deputy editor in San Francisco. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Thank you, Brian.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Brian.
Good to be here.
All right, let's do this. There's a lot of love. There's like a love-hate relationship with Comic-Con for the attendees who go, whether you're a journalist or just a person going for fun. Chris, last year was actually your first time. Can you tell us a little bit about what you liked and maybe what you hated?
Yeah, so I'm probably the closest thing to a newbie on this panel, and before last year, I was told by a lot of people that you really need to prepare for this thing. You need to be fit. You need to be in shape. You need to practice with a backpack on your back. Go 20 miles a day. Practice the smell in your nostrils that will come from all the BO that's floating through the arena. No, it's not true. I actually had fun. And I was surprised by that. Maybe because my expectations were at dead zero to begin with, but it's actually one of the more fun conventions that I've ever been to. And I think it comes down to the people. There are times when you're sort of in the crush for a queue for a collectible item, or you're standing in the middle of the show floor and you're just trying to get out, but some celebrity has just walked by and you find yourself in a human sardine can, where you're like, what the heck am I doing here? But for the most part, it's wonderful, and the organization can be a little difficult when it comes to getting your badge or other official matters. But I really enjoyed myself. I'm looking forward to going again, and I'll sleep when it's over.
And Josh, what excites you every year? I know this is your 5th year attending.
Yeah, 5 years. Listen, I'm like Brer Rabbit in the Briar Patch down in San Diego. I love Comic-Con. I have friends and colleagues who have become jaded about it because it is a huge crush with people. The brands and the studios have taken over to the degree that you can't, there's just not an Eiffel anywhere that doesn't have something that's branded. But I love the news. I go down there for the movie news because I want to be among the 6,000 people in Hall H who hear the news first that Marvel's coming out with a new movie or Warner Brothers is doing something different. I want to see the sizzle reels and I want to be able to write about them. A lot of that stuff stays in Hall H. A lot of that stuff that they unspool in Hall H stays there. It does not go public later. It does not generally leak online. So it's truly an exclusive experience. And, I just love to stay on top of that stuff anyway. Just personally, I get excited about it. So to be able to go down and cover it, to be able to slip in the side of the side door in Hall H and to sit and on those panels, which are basically like giant rock concerts when they're right and they bring the right talent out and they give the right news, is really a lot of fun. It is truly the highlight of my year.
And Sandra, 4th year for you, right?
Yes, one less than Josh.
And what do you like about it? What do you hate?
Covering television at this specific convention is a little different than covering movies, because movies, they come with big splashy news, and for television usually they're only a couple episodes into filming their seasons depending on what show you're going to go see. I think for me the most exciting part is being right next to fans who are seeing their favorite stars for the very first time, and there's such an infectious feeling in those ballrooms that even though they're not breaking gigantic news about certain things, like just to see their excitement kind of reinvigorates your love for the medium. I mean, covering TV, you definitely get a little jaded about it, like, oh, I'm seeing this person for the 50th time. But actually being there with everyone is just so much fun, and you get fun anecdotes, and it's just a great time. I love it. I have a great time every year. My shoes don't, though, because my shoes are dead by the end. I ruined so many pairs of shoes walking around that stupid downtown center, and they're cobblestone. But that's a personal issue.
Do you bring fancy shoes along? Is that what happened?
Do I what?
You bring like stilettos or something along? Is that happen?
Well, yeah, duh, you gotta look
I've never
good.
seen Sandra in anything less than fancy shoes.
Oh, awesome.
I think perhaps the biggest problem with Comic-Con is the name. You know, it outgrew that name long ago. You know, Star Wars, which I'll be pimping my book about Star Wars at the convention for the first year. Star Wars was the movie that changed it. You know, before that it really was about comics, and after that, comics sort of got banished to this dark corner in the back of the hall, and that's actually about the only area of the hall where you can walk without being in a crush of people, is if you're actually standing by comics. But the whole thing is just spilling out into San Diego and spilling out into the cobblestone, the Gaslamp district, and it's something bigger. We need to find a different name for it. And I think another thing it's important to mention is the fact that it's not inside the convention hall. You don't even need a ticket to participate in most of this stuff. If you're in San Diego, just go down to the Gaslamp district, and you'll find something fun going on.
What would you rename it?
Probably a word that I can't say in a family hangout. But yes, a crush fest, a media fest, media palooza. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Some kind of cluster something, right? Would be a good word for it. A cluster of nerds.
ClusterCon. Yeah. ClusterCon 2014.
You heard it here first. You mentioned the dreaded lines, and I know it can take. I've been to the New York Comic Con, and it can take an hour longer to wait. Is that like the normal thing for these panels? Like 2 hours to wait just to get into it? Is there a strategy for some of our audience that's watching?
Sometimes more than that. People will camp out overnight for some of these things. Yeah.
The big mistake that people make going in is they think that they can hit everything, and they get frustrated that they're not going to be able to go to everything they want. You just have to go in knowing that there's always going to be stuff going on that you're just not going to make it to. So you got to pick your battles. And for us to cover it, it's different because we set up our passes so that we can skip the lines and get inside. We don't get all the passes we want. Even when we do, you get hung up at one panel and can't go to another one. So even we, as journalists covering it, have to understand that we're not going to be able to cover every little thing. Our battle plan is set, it's impeccable, and as soon as the con starts on Thursday, it's going to be in shambles. I'm telling you, there's no battle plan that survives contact with the enemy, and especially at Comic-Con.
Yeah, I've never been to Comic-Con as a civilian before. I've only gone as a journalist, so I have mad respect for the people that will wait in line for days for anything. I don't care that much about anything, honestly.
It seems that there's something of a culture of standing in line. I mean, I'm British, so I'm used to being part of a people who like to queue. Just it doesn't matter what it's for. We like to queue. It's kind of part of our culture, and that's what goes on at Comic-Con. People just want to join a line. It doesn't even matter what it's for. There's something cool at the end of it. Collectible Stormtrooper. It doesn't matter. And so that's the mindset I found myself last year, trying to have to get out of, no, I don't want to stand in this line. No, I'd be better off going somewhere else. So that would be my recommendation personally. Just avoid any line. Ask yourself, if you're standing in a line, is this really worth it? Or would I be, having more fun going off in the corridors and finding someone doing awesome cosplay?
Sometimes a line is the only way to get a Diet Coke, Chris. So there's no way to ignore lines, okay?
We will bring you a supply of Diet Coke. I will personally fill my backpack with Diet Coke.
I am holding you to that, like, in a crazy way.
Make a note of that now.
So we're already getting reader questions, which is great. Viewer questions, actually. We have one from Danielle Orange. She's asking, Josh, you already said that some of these things are exclusive just to people attending, but will there be any panels that are live streamed, and if so, where can they go to watch them?
That is tricky, and you can. I do believe there is live streams. I have a really clean answer for you right that, but I will tell you this: even if they do live stream the panels, and sometimes the panels will show up on YouTube later, if they're not live streamed, you will not get to see the trailers. So you get to see people on stage talking, but you won't get to see, like, whatever they throw up on screen is not going to make it onto your computer screen. That much I know. So it's kind of cool to see the talent up there, but on the other hand, like, the reason you go is to see the sizzle reels and the images and the trailers and stuff like that. And sometimes studios will put that stuff out, the next day or hours later or days later. Sometimes they won't. The really, really hot stuff and the really, really proprietary stuff, especially with Marvel and DC, will be exclusive to Hall H.
Yeah, the talent seemed to be there as window dressing more than anything else. I mean, I've never seen any actor answer more than 2 questions in a given panel, and sometimes you wonder, is it really worth it them being there? They answer 1 or 2 questions, they get applauded massively by their fans because they're rock stars, and then they're out. So, that's my opinion of the panels. I think Josh is right. It's about the sizzle reels.
They also, on the TV side at least, they also do a lot of signings at the booths on the floor, and those things can turn into insane stampedes. I almost got killed by like a Teen Wolf stampede last year. It was amazing. But people get so excited. But whenever you don't hear from a star that much in a panel, you'll hear from them elsewhere in the convention, whether it's a signing or doing like any of the 50 billion media outlets that do live streaming from there.
All right, speaking of trailers, let's move on to just movies in general. Josh, what can we expect from the studios this year?
I think it's going to be a really big year. We've had a couple of lulls. Last year there wasn't a lot of news that came out. Age of Ultron for the Avengers, of course, was the title that they announced. But I think this is a really big year for movies, particularly superhero movies, because both DC and Marvel are now in full like pedal to the metal mode. We saw a couple of months ago a website that shall not be named basically gave the whole rundown of all the DC properties that they were going to announce. We'll see. It was a really ambitious list. It included some standalone films that have not been made official yet. If they come out and make those official, we're talking about major franchises from the DC universe, which has got a lot of catching up to do. And Marvel is so far ahead of them right now, and frankly, having just a few days ago announced 5 different dates for movies that are coming that we don't know what they are yet. I wrote at some length about what I think they're going to be. It's wild speculation, but we're going to get a lot of clarity on where the Marvel universe is going now that they've set up Guardians of the Galaxy. We're talking about 7 total Marvel movies that have a date but don't have an official title yet. We don't even know what they are. So I think some of the major news we're going to get is who's going to play Doctor Strange, when the 3rd Avengers film is going to come out, and I personally think that the 3rd Avengers film could be an Infinity film because they've been setting up this comic book run, the Infinity comic book run, which is collecting all the gems that are existing in the universe to create this sort of singular power in a battle against Thanos. And I also think it's very possible, and not likely, but certainly possible, and it's my personal wish, that we're going to get a Captain Marvel movie, which Captain Marvel is the Marvel Universe's sort of Top Gun who's a female, and with Warner Brothers nipping at the heels of a Wonder Woman movie, I think Marvel's definitely going to want to get a female-centric superhero to talk about out there. Captain Marvel's the best character they've got going who fits that bill, and it's possible. It's a wish, but it's possible. But I think we're going to get a bunch of big surprises from Marvel, some big wallops from DC. And then don't count out Warner Brothers, don't count out Legendary, who's paired up now with Universal. They're getting ready to do some big titles as well. Jurassic Park is coming. We might see some of that. And I expect some big things also, possibly out of Fox. Fox is a sleeper here because they've got some big dates set for superhero movies coming up. We know they're building up the Fantastic Four universe. We know that it's possible that we might get something new along the line. We'll get some sort of movement in the X-Men universe. And I wouldn't be surprised if one of these days we get a Deadpool movie. I don't think this is the year for it, but I think it's coming.
You mentioned Jurassic Park. What would they talk about for that movie here?
Well, a couple things. They have started production on the film, so they might have something to show us. So far, all we've seen are stills from the set. Chris Pratt right now is in the middle of a major Guardians of the Galaxy promotional tour. Guardians of the Galaxy opens right after Comic-Con, So I wouldn't be surprised to see him and the Guardians there for Marvel, and as long as he's there, he could very well also be doing his Jurassic Park sort of, introduction. So we could see footage from that film. It's certainly possible. If not, some kind of
I actually happened to stumble onto the set of Jurassic World while I was on vacation in Hawaii last night.
As you do, yeah, sure. Like,
as you do, yeah. It was on the same ranch in the north of the island where they shot a load of Lost, but they definitely have sets constructed there, filming on when I was there, but it seemed well underway, so I would not be surprised to see Jurassic World footage.
We'll get some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff too, although we've seen trailers for that already. And much to Chris's dismay, what I've heard from my friends at Disney is that they are going to lay really low on Star Wars. Star Wars is almost not going to be present there. They'll have stuff for Star Wars Rebels, which is the new animated series, and certainly you'll see Star Wars stuff around, but they're not going to bring out J.J. Abrams and the cast or do anything in particular with Star Wars if they'll even mention it.
Yeah, I mean, Disney, they said last year, as I've been writing this book on Star Wars, they have stayed mum the whole time, Bob Iger's big statement was, I'm speechless about Star Wars, I'm speechless about how good this is, and I'm going to stay speechless. They really want it to stand for itself. They don't want to overhype it, and they're very, very careful about releasing details. But Rebels, I mean, this is totally going to be the Comic-Con of Rebels. We're going to see some exclusive footage. It's not final footage of the show, but it's going to be close enough to final that we can write about it, blog about it, podcast about it, and there's the Millennium Falcon. Hey!
Josh, I applaud your use of props. That was impressive.
Where they came from.
The Millennium Falcon, which we will see in the new film, and maybe at Comic-Con in 2015 we'll see a real-life version of that. That would be pretty awesome. But yeah, nothing this year other than Rebels, which is very cool in itself, I should say. That's very much Star Wars going back to its Ralph McQuarrie roots.
Josh, you had mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy. You actually went to the premiere last night. Is Marvel heading in the right direction with what they're trying to do, with what they're showing fans on screen?
Yeah, I mean, what they're doing is they're building up to an Avengers film that will be a showdown with Thanos. I showed you this Infinity book, and I actually think my money is on that they will follow this Infinity story. That's Thanos right there, looking rather blue. But in order to pull these sort of earthbound superheroes into a cosmic, multi-universal world, they needed to kind of get us into that headspace. And Guardians of the Galaxy does that perfectly. It's a super fun movie. I'm not really supposed to review it yet. I had a lot of fun watching it. I'll probably see it 3, 4, 5 times in the theater before it's out. And it's a big piece of that sort of cosmic space puzzle that Marvel's building up toward. And I think by the time they reach their climax, you're going to see all the characters at some point, not necessarily on Earth, or maybe not necessarily even in this universe. They will be, they will be parts of the Marvel multiverse, which is, extra dimensional. You've got Doctor Strange coming out, so he's got a whole world of magic and mysticism and demonic creatures and other, alter dimensional worlds. So this was kind of their entry point into that, and they nailed it. I mean, they absolutely nailed it. Marvel in space is going to make perfect sense to people now. And the timing was right for it because they wanted to get it out ahead of Star Wars. Same company, but you can't really have those two things going at the same time necessarily and make them work. So it's really smart.
And what other movies can we expect to see big things from? I know last year there was Hunger Games trailers, maybe something with hearing rumblings of Godzilla 2, Hunger Games, anything from them?
Godzilla 2! Yes! Yeah, we're going to get a Godzilla 2. And it's going to be great because, unlike the first movie, which was a lot of fun, Godzilla didn't really show up until about an hour in. And then we didn't get to see that much of him. This time, that's all set up, so we're going to get monsters fighting for the bulk of the film. They've also announced that they're going to do a sequel to Pacific Rim, which was Guillermo del Toro's entry into the kaiju film realm, which was a really fun, cool movie. marginally successful in the United States. Worldwide, it was considered a hit and deserves a sequel. So we'll see that too. But I honestly think if you're going to watch for news, for unexpected news, stuff that's going to surprise you, I would watch that Fox panel on Friday night. I think that they have something up their sleeve. I'm just going on a hunch there. Paramount goes on Thursday afternoon, so they're going to get their stuff out of the way right away. We're going to see Turtles. I don't know if we're going to get Transformers news at that point, but they could certainly bring out something that we weren't expecting. Sony's panels that day, I don't see a lot from them. They're giving Spider-Man a rest now after The Amazing Spider-Man was just kind of an okay run for them. And don't count out Legendary. I mean, Legendary, which formerly was partnered with Warner Brothers, now is partnered with Universal. They're going to be getting more into the horror space because Universal is kind of the horror shop of at least in terms of a legacy. I don't really like that anymore, but they're trying to get back to that place. They just signed a deal with Blumhouse Pictures, which did Insidious and all those other lo-fi movies that we've seen, horror movies that we've seen. But that Legendary panel on Saturday night is wedged between Warner Brothers, which goes first, and Marvel, which always has the pimp spot on Saturday night. They could have something up their sleeve too. I don't know exactly what that would be because most of what they're doing we're sort of aware of at this point. But if you're going to bring out something new and big and exciting that's going to get people excited right before Marvel comes on, then Legendary is definitely the studio to do that.
Josh, are we going to see surprises on the DC front? Will we ever see a Justice League movie?
And this is the year to do it too. Like they have to do it. They got to do it. They got to move forward at some point. They keep pushing off into the future. They've been dragging their feet. Now the post that I was talking about earlier was just basically a rundown of all these movies that supposedly they're going to announce. I have no reason to believe that it's false. It was just so hugely ambitious that it's a Justice League film. I think there's a Wonder Woman movie in there, a standalone Wonder Woman movie. And DC has a lot of characters to play with. So, it kind of remains to be seen. I mean, but everybody's kind of waiting on them, right? It's like, okay, DC, Warner Bros., what have you got? Like, in a way, we know Marvel's going to do something big and splashy, and they're gonna bring all their stars together, and it's going to be a big deal, and they're going to make some news. Warner Brothers sometimes, has come to Comic-Con with not that much juice, but if anything like what we read about a couple months ago is true, then they have a very good shot at stealing Marvel's thunder. The year that Man of Steel was announced and that they brought out Henry Cavill, that was kind of Superman's year. So at Comic-Con, every year it seems every Comic-Con sort of belongs to one character in terms of buzz and just the best assets that they bring out. Last year I think it was kind of Godzilla, right? So Warner Brothers has a shot at it, but they also could lay kind of low. I don't know. That's a tough one to call.
And last year we didn't even know who the next Batman was going to be, right? We didn't have the Ben Affleck rumor at that point.
No, we didn't know. We knew it was going to be Batman versus Superman. They rolled that out. They told us that that was going to be the deal, but they did not have Affleck in place. And we just didn't have any sort of idea where that storyline was going. Now details are starting to emerge on that a little bit.
They gave us that great quote from The Dark Knight Returns, the graphic novel, from the fight between Batman and Superman.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to do something. They can't just let Marvel walk all over them again. I mean, they have to. Again, if the rumors hold true, this could be a big year. Warner Brothers could be the ones who really step it up and make this a big news con. It's certainly possible.
We have one question from Clement Bryant. Josh, do you think the Black Panther has a shot for a movie in Phase 3?
That's a great question, and I know Clement from Twitter. So how you doing, buddy? I think it's possible. It's been rumored for so long though, and it hasn't come along. And if you look at the list of characters and movies that they have to take care of within the 7 open slots that they have now, they've got to do a Thor 3. They've got to get Doctor Strange going on. I do feel like they have to get a female-centered movie going on. Some people said that's Black Widow. I don't see her as a standalone character. I just don't. I like her. I like Scarlett Johansson, but I don't think that that's a standalone film. Unless maybe she does one with Hawkeye, and then it's not really technically a standalone. So that takes up 4 of those films. Then you've got Avengers 3. Then you've got, you start going down the list, and Black Panther starts to get edged out a little bit more. Now, for them to do the Infinity series and to do it right, I think they have to have a Black Panther introduced at some point. He's got to come into this universe. So if they don't give him his own movie, he's definitely going to be in the movie somewhere.
All right, let's transition over to TV while we still have time. And so, Sandra, what shows are people looking forward to? Where's the buzz right now?
Well, I think in terms of the fans, people are probably very excited to see Community on the lineup. That's one we didn't even expect would be around for another season. Chris is getting a thumbs up, yeah. Everyone was so excited about that.
6 seasons in a movie. Sorry.
6 seasons in a movie. People were so excited to see Yahoo Screen pick that up, and the fact that they're getting a panel is going to be amazing. I feel like that's going to be a huge celebration. I don't know how many announcements are going to come out of it, but I feel like that's going to be one of the biggest fan parties at the convention. I expect some casting news maybe out of Game of Thrones. They haven't said too much in that regard, and they've been a little coy on some of the people we might be seeing, so I feel like that's going to come with some announcements. Also, this past 2 weeks have been the Television Critics Association press tour here in Los Angeles. So some of these shows have been rolling out announcements over the last couple of weeks. Flash, for example, announced that Captain Cold is going to come on for an episode played by Wentworth Miller. S.H.I.E.L.D. also announced that Lucy Lawless is going to have a guest spot this season. So I feel like in terms of TV, maybe not that much news out of those specific shows. I expect maybe some fun news out of Arrow about what villains we're going to be seeing this season and what characters they're going to be introducing. And also Agent Carter with Marvel. Marvel's actually having a Marvel TV block, which is pretty cool. Critics have been watching pilots over the last few months as networks have made them available to us, but nobody has seen Agent Carter yet. So people are very excited about that one. I don't know if they're actually going to screen the pilot. Last year, Marvel surprised fans and showed them the S.H.I.E.L.D. pilot, which they'd kind of guessed because it was a 90-minute panel on the schedule, and they're like, they're going to show a S.H.I.E.L.D., and they did, which was great. I don't know if we could expect that here, but it's definitely something to look forward to. I feel like some announcements are going to come out of that, and that's definitely going to be a highlight. And self-promotion alert, I am doing the Bones panel this year. That's on Friday, and I'm also doing a panel for the new CBS show Scorpion, and that's on Thursday. And I feel like those are going to be amazing. Totally unbiased opinion there.
And I noticed we published a story on Mashable about the swag bags, and they featured a lot of TV shows. Can you talk about which ones were featured?
Oh my God! So they had 13, I think it was, different bags. So these swag bags are the ones that everybody gets when you register at the con and you go to pick up your credential and your badge for the week. And you get this gigantic bag that can basically fit a small human inside them. They're very impractical. They're very weird looking to see everybody walking around with these big panels on their back. But they are cool bags. Last year, actually, Arrow had one, and it came with a little cape on it. How cool is that? And I kept mine, obviously. So the bags this year feature Warner Brothers television shows like Arrow, Flash, Constantine, Gotham. There's 2 bags honoring the 75th anniversary of Batman, Originals, Vampire Diaries, my personal fave, Supernatural. Yeah, so they're very cool bags, great collector's items. And I'm definitely going to end up with probably the one bag I don't want and have to trade some nerd in line. So if you find me and I'm looking for somebody to trade a bag with, please be kind to me. I just want a Supernatural bag. Come on, guys.
You mentioned Gotham being featured on the bag. What can we expect from that show here? Because I know they've been announcing a lot of things with UCA, hearing a lot of buzz about the Penguin being a central villain in that show. Right. So they were one of the shows that had a panel earlier this week at the press tour. So I got a chance to actually talk with Robin Lord Taylor and the guy who's playing the Joker, or not the Joker, the Riddler, and that they were so fun. And I feel like they're gonna queue up some fun stuff that's coming up this season. I think they're only 3 episodes into filming, but I feel like they have 5 or 6 scripts, is what I was told. So I don't know how many surprises they're gonna have, but there's definitely gonna be a lot of fan questions about what's coming up and how they're handling the introduction of villains, and there's a lot of technical questions that I feel like are going to come up, and we're going to get some answers to. Josh and Chris, are you going to be attending any of the TV panels as well?
Ooh, I'm so glad you asked because just yesterday, check this out, you guys. My first panel pass is for dun dun dun.
Yes.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah. So yes, that's a big one. And as Sandra said, there might be some casting news that happens there. I think the cast panels have been pretty quiet in terms of news, but there's just so much to talk about in any given season, and they come out and always say interesting things. And I remember the very first one where Sean Bean came out after he was dead, and it was just very, very surreal to see him talking about this character that he was no longer going to be able to play. And then all the Marvel TV stuff, I'll be sure to be checking that out too. It perhaps for my own edification and entertainment, if nothing else. But yeah, I mean, look, TV has crossed over so much in this world now that it's basically no longer a movies thing; it's a movies and TV thing. And notice that Game of Thrones panel, as it has been in the past couple of years, is in Hall H. TV is invading Hall H, and it's just going to keep happening.
Especially on Sundays. I feel like this year, I think most of it is all television, with Sons of Anarchy, Supernatural, The Strain. So TV is getting Hall H, and that's a great point.
And Game of Thrones, if we're going to talk about that, that is spilling out all over the place. I mean, there are so many, not just the All H panel, but I believe I will be sipping Game of Thrones beer with the Red Viper at some point.
I saw that on our schedule and I freaked out. So Mashable, we have this like team schedule to show where everybody is going to be at what time. It's really terrifying. And then I saw that you added that, Chris, and I freaked out.
He's going to be pulling pints of beer, which is kind of another Sean Bean situation, like Josh was talking about. It's like, are your eyes okay, man? Are you feeling? Can you see to pull that beer? So that's going to be bizarre. Seeing your dead heroes at Comic-Con is one of the weirdest things. But yeah, there's also, I'm doing a Dothraki language panel. I think there's a new app coming out that will help you learn Dothraki, which of course we always wanted to speak. So I'll be doing that as well. And they're just, I mean, it is the year of Game of Thrones, or maybe it's the decade of Game of Thrones. I don't know what, but it seems to be taking over the whole con.
All right, we have about 5 to 10 minutes left. Let's transition over to cosplay. I spoke with Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead the other day over the phone, and he said he's most excited about that portion. He likes seeing people dress up from characters in The Walking Dead, but also just seeing what's new and like not necessarily the Harlequins and all the old costumes. What can we expect this year from the new crop of cosplayers? Like, which costume?
Gosh.
I feel like we're going to see a lot of Orphan Black clones. I know I kind of wanted to make a Helena myself, the one with the big frizzy blonde wig and the weird Russian-speaking clone. I would love to see a lot of Tatiana Maslany's walking around.
I would be surprised if we don't see more Doctor Who cosplay this year. I mean, Doctor Who has just been a sensation in the US over the last 5 years. It's just taken off with Matt Smith's tenure, and now of course we've got Peter Capaldi coming back, taking on the role of the Doctor for the first time in August. So I think fans are going to be excited about that, and the show just has so many cosplay options. I mean, I love seeing weeping angels walk the corridors. It's the scariest thing you can imagine. So I cannot wait to see my first Peter Capaldi Doctor at the con. I'm sure I will see him.
Chris, you can weigh in on this, but I feel like I see more Matt Smiths than any other Doctor. Is that like an accurate?
Yeah. I mean, it's often the case that whoever's currently in the role is most loved and most copied, and of course Matt Smith had a great sense of style, and you just throw on a bow tie and you could be the Matt Smith Doctor, but
and you'll be cool.
Yeah, and you'll be cool because bow ties are cool. But Capaldi's Doctor is pretty simple as well. You put on a pair of DMs. You get a coat. You button your white shirt up. It's easy. That's my tip for lazy Comic-Con cosplay. Is just throw on a jacket, white shirt. You're Peter Capaldi.
I'm glad you brought that up, Chris, because we actually had 2 cosplayers come in and teach us how to make a costume in 1 hour. and that video will be coming up and being up on Mashable a little later this week. So they gave us some cheat sheets. So if you're waiting until the weekend to roll out your costume, we got some tips for you coming up.
Sweet.
And I'm not saying for sure that I'm bringing it down, but if you do see Rinsler from Tron Legacy, you know, the erstwhile Tron who turns back into Tron, I'm not saying it's me, but if you come and say hello, there's probably a pretty good chance that I had something to do with it.
I love the celebrity.
A couple of years ago, I have like LED lights on it, stuff like that's cool. Maybe I should bring it. I think you'll see some Guardians of the Galaxy for the first time. I mean, we didn't really get an idea of but back then we didn't really know what they were going to look like in the movie. Now we know, so I think we'll see some Star-Lords and some Gamoras, and I don't know if somebody can pull off a Rocket Raccoon or not. I'd certainly like to see Cosmo the dog, Cosmo the space dog. But once again, a character I'm starting to see more of here and there, especially at the very smaller cons, is Captain Marvel. You guys. She is such a cool character and such a cool comic, and I've started to finally see people cosplaying as her too, so that should be a good sign.
We should add that bringing an actual raccoon is not recommended.
No.
You will be thrown out. I'm looking forward to seeing more celebrities doing cosplay. I mean, last year Simon Pegg was wandering the halls with a Boba Fett helmet on, so nobody could recognize him, and the Shaun from Shaun of the Dead costume. And
very secret of Comic-Con, by the way, is that about 10-15% of the stormtroopers that you see are just celebrities who are trying to walk around on a beta. There's no other way for them to get around. So they put on stormtrooper costumes and they parade around, and that's how they get from like the loading docks to the front doors, because they want to see what's out there. They don't want to just be in the back halls the whole time. So, you know, if you are really bold and you want to start taking people's stormtrooper helmets off, you never know. It could be like, oh my God, it's Steven Spielberg, you know. Oh my goodness, it's Nathan Fillion.
Yeah, Bryan Cranston was walking around last year in a Walter White mask, which I think is the ballsiest celebrity cosplay I've ever seen.
You know what we're going to see more of too? And Hiddleston did this last year. He dressed the crowd as Loki, right? He came out as Loki, and I don't think there hasn't been a whole lot of that going on. And it kind of started with Spider-Man did that a couple of years ago. They brought Andrew Garfield out in a Spider-Man costume. Like, I think you'll see more of the actors sort of taking on their character roles on stage and just doing goofy stuff like that to introduce the panels and whatnot.
Great, and let's end with a viewer question from Good Final Q. Actually, no, it's from Junior Robert. She's asking, what was the best, craziest moment you've ever experienced at Comic-Con?
That I can talk about?
Yeah. PG.
That I can talk about was definitely 2010 when they announced the Avengers movie, and they brought all in, and they said, you know, Mark Ruffalo was going to be the Hulk, and they had just announced Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye, and then they brought them all out on stage at once. It was the first time we saw the Avengers together, and the place went bananas. And so I've never seen anything happen there quite like that since. It really was like a rock concert moment. It's pretty cool.
Mine was probably last year when I was moderating the How I Met Your Mother farewell panel for the end of the series, and a fan showed up dressed in different Neil Patrick Harris characters and started saying this like very elaborate monologue and ended by asking him for the highest of high fives. And Neil Patrick Harris ran out into the audience and like gave this guy like some epic high five, and the security guards just ran because people started running after him. So he ran out into the crowd, gave them a big high five, and then ran back. It was like the scariest moment because I was like, he's going to get killed. But then afterwards I was like, that was amazing.
So I have a slightly smaller pool of memories to draw on than these guys, but and also my Star Wars focus is going to be betrayed here. But last year we had a surprise in the Star Wars panel where we saw, after 35 years, we saw the blooper reel from the original Star Wars, and we didn't know that was going to happen. And it's sort of to Josh's point about how you really go for the previews and the sizzle reels. This was the ultimate example. You know, we saw stormtroopers falling over in the corridors of the Death Star. You know, film that had not been shown for years, and that was the moment of geekgasm. That was fantastic.
There's also, you know, the parties are pretty great. A big part of Comic-Con is the parties, and there are a lot of them are really hard to get into. The one that's really kind of cool and underground, which is put on by some friends of mine, called Kings of Con, a couple of years ago. Jon Favreau showed up and DJ'd for like 2 hours. It was really fun. It was a very small affair, but he was there spinning turntables with his Mac open and a big Iron Man mask on the where the apple should be. It was kind of fun.
Where will you guys be partying this year?
Ooh. Everywhere. Flash is having a big party. I think on Friday or Saturday night we'll be there. Kings of Con is another one. I'm glad you brought that up, Josh. I'm trying to think of my Penny Dreadful is having a great bash. Bates Motel is having a great bash. Fox TV, NBC, everybody throws a big show, and they're all really, really fun because they're usually on rooftops and have lots of celebs, but it's all very chill, though. You very rarely run into, like, people that are you know, reacting as fans there. It's just very chill. You're hanging out. You're getting a drink next to, like, you know, the new Flash or whatever. It's really cool and chill.
Then there's the Playboy party. I don't know if we can talk about that.
Yeah, they're putting it on. That one's on with A&E, so it should be fairly family friendly. Those Playboy parties are fun. They're always fun. They're outdoors and it's in the middle of everything. And you know, yeah, Comic-Con parties are the best parties.
All right, that's all the time we have. Do you guys have any closing remarks before we sign off?
Well, we should all pimp our panels, right?
Oh, let's do that.
Well, mine is simple. I'm 10:30 a.m. Sunday, room 8. Bat-Kid. Bat-Kid Begins, the story behind the amazing phenomenon that took over San Francisco last year.
I am doing a Scorpion panel on Thursday in Ballroom 20 at 12:05. I'm doing the Bones panel also in Ballroom 20 at 12:30 on Friday. And then I'm doing another panel at the Indigo Ballroom about the digital television revolution, and that's at 5 o'clock on Saturday. Doing a lot of panels.
And I'm not moderating any panels this year, but I'm going to be covering everyone I can possibly get my hands on. I'll be like this the whole time. So just find me on Twitter, and you'll see what I'm up to.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your expert insight today, and thanks for our viewers for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and you can follow along our coverage at Mashable.com or on Twitter, twitter.com/Mashable. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.